Hey everybody, how are you guys? Awesome. Hope you had a great week because we are just now, of course, going into the weekend, and it's I'm looking forward to a great weekend. This has been my birthday week. If you got my emails, you saw them. I was talking about how I'm turning the big 40. That's it. 40, you guys. And I know, a gal should normally won't talk about her age, but I'm a different kind of gal. So and it's been really amazing, and I've been learning so much. So grateful for all the people around me, all the people in this community, all the my family, the support that I'm getting. I really am grateful, and I just want to take that time and just say thanks for being a part of my story. Thanks for being inspired to actually live your story the way that you should. Just thank you. This one goes out to you guys with so much love, and I really want to make sure that indeed we are writing our story in the right way. And why do I ask that? Because think about it. What is your story? Is it a victim story or is it a victor story? And the reason I ask that, and by the way, as you guys check in, do say hey. Do put in the comments below where you're checking in from. I always love to interact. In case I miss your comments during the session, I will come back and comment on your comments. So do say hey. I always like to know who's watching and what you're getting out of it. So what the reason I'm asking is this a victim? Is your story a victim story or is it a victor story? Because I've really been grappling with this, I must admit, and I'm really curious to know if you have too. And the thing is, how will you know which one it is, whether it's a victor or a victim story? I'm going to tell you how. Like, do you constantly look around for the thing that's not working just in order to tear it down even more, right? Or maybe when you hear that something actually worked for another person that had success, like back at home if you're living abroad, and it surprises you because, well, everyone knows that the system back home, back in Africa, is just completely corrupt and impossible to navigate, right? Is that you? And in fact, by the way, now that you've heard that it has worked, you're so convinced that there must have been money exchanging hands just under the table, for sure. So, and I mean, I know where you are. By the way, in case you're wondering, this is what it means to have a victim story. And in case you're wondering, I know where you are because I have been there, right? And I want to tell you how that worked for me without even realizing it. When I lost my job, my first job abroad back in 2010, by the way, I mean, I love to tell everyone how my boss had it in for me, how he had no respect for Africans or for women. So by the way, the fact that I was an African woman, first of all, and I was an African and I was a woman, it meant double trouble for me just because of where he came from. Like in his culture, it was completely normal to think of us, me, in that kind of way. It was what he had grown up with, right? So, and I even blogged at length about this story. Perhaps you've actually read the blog about it or had what I've shared about it in the past, and I blogged about it and I owned the story. I carried it. It was like my badge of honor. Hello, you guys, check it out. The R word has reared its ugly head. And this is where I was, right? I blogged, I owned it, I carried it as a badge of honor. I've passed through the jaws of racism and sexism and come out on the other side, with the battle wounds to show for it. And, without really even realizing it, I was making it so that the same exact story would repeat itself in my life, And by the way, make no mistake, it did repeat itself because within another 2 years of that particular story, I had another run with another boss that also cost me my job. Yes, once again, the ugly R word reared its head. And was it a coincidence? I think not, because I will share that story with you soon, by the way. In fact, I probably have. I'm not keeping track too well nowadays, but do stay tuned. See, what I was essentially creating my external world based on my internal world, right? The Bible says so clearly in Proverbs, as a man thinketh, so he is. That basically means that our thoughts, it means our thoughts, right? Create our external world. Our external world will adjust to who we are on the inside. So we end up reliving the same troubles by constantly thinking and seething and feeling resentful and just being unforgiving about this situation. That, by the way, I did not like it. But I was actually unconsciously causing the very, very same situation to reoccur. So what I was doing, I was carrying it around with me like a tape that, the universe just kept playing on repeat. When I finally realized that I was not doing myself a favor, and when I finally let go and I finally forgave, I was able to move on to much more opportunity, just to much more wealth and to much more prosperity in my life. And the reason I'm sharing this is because what does it mean to you? What does it mean for you in your real estate journey, on the journey that you find yourself on right now? Maybe you've been burned, most likely you've had a deal go sour, or maybe you had a friend or a family member just con you out of this huge sum that was meant to be for your investment. Or perhaps you've had a bank or maybe a financial institution just do a number on you and charge you a lot of money. And you're wondering, just for a tiny mistake, that you made years back. And I talked some weeks back of a guy that he'd raked up thousands of dollars in debt to a local bank just because they never closed his account. And guess what? All these years later, that few $1,000s of debt that was there with the Central Review Board, and they'd kept charging him monthly. All this, almost a decade later, guess what? He was still stuck there. He was like, but I can't because these guys have got me stuck. Guess what? What he simply needed to do was to break free, pay his debts, and move on. Because someone else told me, and I learned this in a really awesome sermon in church the other day. Guess what happens to debt when you don't let go of it? You are carrying it around without sorting it out. You're carrying it around. So maybe you've watched helplessly as other people have had this happen to them, and then you vowed that it would never ever happen to you. Why? Because you just wouldn't be there for it to happen to. Now, there's no other way to say this. I'm just going to say it out in one way. You just need to let it go and to move on. Okay? Otherwise, you're setting yourself up so that the same exact thing will happen to you again and again. Because it just means that your future projects, they'll face the same downfall as your past projects did. And your building projects, they'll go the same way, the same path, just of failure that you've traced. It's like a path you've traced in your mind's eye. I mean, think about it like a river. A river will run in the path of least resistance. And that path is often the path where other rivers have run. So you're going to be creating this well-worn path that you can't help but you let your thoughts follow that path, right? Fear, by the way, let me just say, make it clear. Fear is not a bad thing, not entirely, because it's what prevents our kids or us when we were young from touching fire. I mean, especially that fear of bodily harm, like, woof. By the way, not the one that comes from the fire, but will come to them when you find out what they did, even after you told them not to. So, and this is a shout out to all the African parents in the house. But, fear can't continue to drive you, because fear of things in a child, it's normal. Like if you've ever seen fear in a full-grown adult, when they're scared of a spider or a mouse, you can actually relate that in an adult, that kind of fear, it's crossed over from normal into abnormal, irrational even. I mean, in fact, it's even bordering on the absurd. So an adult is just an adult is well aware, you would think, that they can crush a spider under the heel of their shoe in seconds. And most times, those that have these really irrational fears in adulthood, they had a situation maybe as a child with the said spider that it froze their response in time and just made it that of a child, even though they're full-grown adults in other aspects of their life. So just try to tell them, by the way, that their fear is unfounded, and you will never hear the end of it. They'll be like, what? Are you kidding? Because in their mind, they're completely justified in it, and they can see it no other way. And the truth that the only thing that really would move them past that fear is deep psychological work, just to get to the root of it and expose it for what it is, right? So ask yourself, could you be letting this irrational fear hold you back from getting moving on your journey for investments, on your development journey, on any journey you've been meaning to take and that you haven't yet worked up the courage to? Could you be frozen by a bad experience like that spider, right? Or maybe it's an experience that your loved one had with investing. It really traumatized you in the real sense. So you're in that state of immaturity about any kind of investing. Now that is your spider, right? And it doesn't matter what anyone or anything will tell you about it. Guess what? Your mind cannot fathom why people would get into it at all. It can't. That's why it's called irrational. So the only problem is, you guys, that you do know somewhere deep inside you, you know that, yes, you have a problem and you need to get that problem solved. You know it. You know that you're missing out from the security and the freedom that just comes from taking the plunge. Like, you know how free as a child would run, get all the clothes and take a plunge into a pool. That's the freedom you desire. And you've actually got that gut instinct that there must be someone, there must be something somewhere that can get you out of this. Yeah. And you're really, really, really yearning for that freedom, right? To just, the one that will come from finally being able to break free. Do you know what I mean? Break free finally and reach for your heart's desire. Because guess what? Time is running out to get you there. Okay? It really is. The good news is you are not alone. Others have felt that way too, and they have been able to work past it. That we work every single day with Africans in the diaspora to free them from the baggage of deals gone wrong in the past, and just really finally get them, past that to the place where they have always dreamed. And you basically need to forget the past for the sake of your future. That's what you need to do. There's no other way around it. We will work with you to really help you. And by the way, it doesn't have to be us. If you can work with someone who will help you get past those psychological stops, roadblocks that you're facing, do it. Do it, do it, do it, right? But as long as you keep holding on to them, you're going to keep wishing, praying, hoping, wondering why you can't move forward. And if you want us to help you, hey, we're here too. We've opened up some spots this week to do that same for you. And I mean it. We're going to get you on there. Come on, talk to me, talk to my team. We're going to help you move past the pain and disappointments of broken promises and broken dreams, dreams that went up in flames, like in a blaze of glory, except it's not glory. It actually is hell. It's a blaze of hell, the flames of hell. So we're going to help you get hopeful again and dreaming, because what are we without our dreams? I mean, what are we? We need them because the dreams are what direct us. So if you can relate to any of this, you need to jump on a call with us today. You absolutely need to. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to get the help you need. I mean, we're literally here saying, come on, let's talk to you. Let's get you through this. You'll be so glad that you did. You really will. And our joy will be to have ushered one more person, even if it's one more person, by the way, to their dream. This is the thing. There's this story told of a gentleman that he's walking along the beach, an old fisherman, walking along the beach, and there's thousands of starfish just on the beach that have washed up. And starfish, when it stays out of the water too long, it'll die. And there he's picking up a starfish one at a time, throwing them into the water. And he's doing this just really methodically. And someone passing by just asks him, why are you doing it? Why are you bothering? I mean, there's so many, you can't save them all. You know what he says? He says, guess what? And as he throws that starfish into the water, it matters to that starfish. I saved that one. And that's what we're saying today. Can we save everybody? No, we can't. But you know what? You're here for a reason. You're listening to us right now, to me right now for a reason. It means that we can absolutely save you. We can absolutely get you your dream back. And you guys, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. My heart breaks when I hear some of the stories that people have out there. They're crazy. So what I'm saying is, get on a phone call. Let's get you started. Let's save that little one starfish. And guess what? We will have gotten our reward in doing that. So look forward to talking with you. Do jump on. I'm going to put the link below that you can click. And of course, if you listen to this on audio, you're going to get the link at the end. And we look forward to really chatting. Look forward to it, guys. Talk soon.